for today's recipe we're going to be doing a Chocoflan. This is a caramel custard mixed with cake. So it's a brie, per se. So this is a 3-step process. The first process that I'm going to show you is how to make the caramel for the custard, and then we're going to do the custard. After the custard, I will show you the recipes for the chocolate cake. Everything is done from scratch, just the way that I like it. Okay, so for the ingredients for the caramel, all you're going to be doing is sugar, and it's a cup of sugar. For the custard, we will have 4 eggs, a can of evaporated milk, 1 can of condensed milk, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and then 1 block of cream cheese. And this is an 8-ounce block. Okay, so follow me for the caramel. Okay guys, for the caramel, we're gonna toast. So you're gonna toast the sugar until it starts melting. It's eventually gonna become a syrup base, which is what you're gonna put at the bottom of the tray that you will be doing your custard in. So right now we just need to continue to turn it until it starts melting. Normally for this process I like to use a wooden spoon. I don't have one at the moment, only because it sticks. But as you can see, it starts to melt and it starts to dissolve, and it'll become like a syrup base. And we will do this. It's a slow process. It doesn't happen, in 2 minutes. So just continue to stir it so that it doesn't stick to the pan. Once it's completely done, so you can see it'll start turning a golden brown, and that's when you want to turn it off, when it turns a golden brown. You do not want to overdo it. So you're going to continue to mix this until it's a golden brown glaze. You do not want to let it darken too much because you will have a bitter base. Okay, so as you can see, it's already starting to harden, and so I'm just turning it, and I continue to turn it, and you can see it as it's melting. See, as it's melting, it starts to liquefy. That's what we want it to do. So don't be too concerned over the formation that it's getting right now. Eventually that'll melt off with the heat. Okay guys, so this has been on the stove for about 5 minutes, more or less. And as you can see, the sugar has already melted and it's become a glaze. So I'm still waiting on these little chunks here to completely dissolve into a glaze, and then once that happens, I will go ahead and turn it off. As you can see, it's a golden glaze. It's not dark, and this is the way you want it, and you don't want it any darker than this because it will become bitter. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. Okay, so as you can see, it completely dissolved. This is the ending result to this. So now what you're gonna do here, you're gonna pour this into the pan that you will be using for the flan. Now this is gonna harden. You need to leave it here, and you're gonna let it cool down. So now I'm just gonna move it around so that it's on the sides, just like that. Okay, so that it goes on the sides, and then bring it up so that it goes on the middle, so that really captures everything. Okay. Now this, be really careful because it is extremely hot. If you get it on your fingers, it will leave a severe burn. It's caramel and it hardens on your hands. So be really careful with it. Okay, so I've pretty much spread it around. Now I'm just gonna leave it alone and let it cool down. It has to cool down and start cracking around. And once that has hardened and started cracking, you can pour in the base, which is gonna be the caramel, the custard, okay? Okay, so for the custard, you're gonna use the 4 eggs and we're gonna blend everything together. So you're gonna put in the 4 eggs, the vanilla extract, condensed milk, evaporated milk, and then the cream cheese as well. Okay, we're gonna blend this all together. Okay, we're gonna blend it and we'll be right back. Okay guys, so we've already completed blending all the ingredients for the custard. Here I have my base. As you can see, the caramel has cooled to touch, and here's the glaze. If you touch it, it's actually hardened enough to where you can add the custard to it. It cracked, but it's okay. It's supposed to do that. So you do see cracks all over it, and that's fine because this is eventually gonna melt when you bake it in the oven. Okay, and it's gonna bake in a water bath. So we're gonna put this in. We're gonna cover it with foil paper. Normally what I do is, because I'm using this base and there's a hole in the middle, the evaporation of the water is gonna be coming through there and I don't want that. So normally what I do is I'll put foil paper in here and I'll just cover that up. You guys obviously don't have to do that, but I do it just because I don't want any moisture coming into this. Okay, once I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and cover the top of this and make sure that it's nice and sealed, because it's gonna bake in a water bath. So you wanna make sure that it's completely closed. Now the entire cooking time for this is going to be about an hour and a half, an hour and 20 minutes, more or less, depending on the temperature to your oven. I've already preheated my oven to 350 degrees. This is the base that I'm going to be using, so I will stick this in here and pour the water in halfway on this, not completely to the top, just halfway, and then I'm gonna put this in the oven. I will leave it in the oven for an entire hour. After that hour, I will pull it out, uncover it, and then I'll add the chocolate cake on the chocolate batter. The only reason why I don't cook the cake batter along with the custard is because although that's the process normally used, the cake batter does moisten a lot. And so with that being said, I like to eat it as a cake and not a tres leches cake per se, because that's pretty much what it ends up being. So I'll add it after the fact, and it turns out better that way, at least for in my point of view. So we'll be back with the chocolate cake ingredients. Hi guys, welcome back. So the custard flan is almost done. So we're gonna start with the ingredients for the chocolate cake. What we're gonna be using is 3/4 cup of cocoa powder, 1 cup of black coffee, brewed black coffee, 1 3/4 cups of sugar, 2 eggs, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/2 cup of vegetable oil, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 cup of buttermilk, and then 1 3/4 cups of flour. All of these ingredients are gonna be displayed at the bottom of the video, so don't worry about not getting everything down. So we're gonna start mixing this because the custard is almost done and we need to pour this on top before we finish everything. Okay, so what you're gonna do first is you're gonna mix the flour with all of the dry ingredients. So I'm putting in the baking soda, baking powder. Let's make sure it all goes in there. Okay. More chocolate, the salt. So these are all the dry ingredients, and then the sugar. I'll pour all of that in there. It's one big hot mess. I'm just gonna give it a little mix so that it all mixes in. So it's all mixed in. Now what we're gonna do is the wet ingredients. So we're gonna crack the eggs. And then, my bad. A shell went in there. Okay, and then we're gonna do the vegetable oil. And the extract. So we're gonna mix this in. And once we've mixed it well, we're gonna put in the buttermilk. We're gonna mix this in as well. It's mixed in well. And we're gonna start integrating the dry ingredients. So we'll do it a little bit at a time. Oh, got a little too much there. And the batter is gonna be a little loose, but it's perfect because it will be very moist. And I like to go in circular motion, get everything from the edges, give it a little whirl. Notice how it starts to thicken. This is perfectly fine. Remember that we still have 1 cup of coffee that we're gonna integrate into this. Now your coffee has to be hot when you pour it in. And it's black coffee, no sugar, nothing in it, just straight black. I'll pour the remainder of this. So I've completely mixed it in, as you can see. Now that it's all mixed in, I'm gonna pour in the hot coffee. And it's 1 cup. Like I said, it is gonna be a little loose, but that's perfectly fine. That's the way it's supposed to be. Just mix it well. It smells really, really good. Now, depending on the size of the tray that you'll be using, mine wasn't too big. I'm making a smaller Chocoflan than I normally make. This batter will give you enough for 2 if I'm using the same size that I'm doing right now. So I won't be using all of the batter for this recipe. Okay, so this is completely mixed. This is the consistency that you're gonna get. Notice how loose it is. Okay, but it's very rich. It's a very rich chocolate cake. Okay, let me just pull the flan out of the oven and we'll be right back. Okay guys, so I just took the flan out of the oven, the custard, and as you can see the top portion of it, just to touch. It's still a little bit soft, and this is perfect. This is a perfect time where you want to integrate the batter for the chocolate cake. So like I said, I'm only going to use a portion of it because I am using a small, let's see. I am using a small container. I will use a small amount of batter, and what I'm gonna do is just pour it in directly on the cake and try to even it out as much as I can. So that's enough. As you can see, I'm leaving it about, I don't know, half an inch from the top of it. Just keep in mind that it is cake batter, so it will rise. The flan is completely done, so now at this point I'm gonna put it back in the oven in its bath until the cake finishes cooking, which is gonna be roughly about 25 minutes. By then the flan should be completely done, and so does the cake. And I didn't tell you at the beginning, but the flan was in the oven for about an hour and 20 minutes or so for it to be at that consistency. Okay, so I'll see you back when it's all complete. Hey guys, welcome back. So here's the final, semi-final product. I just pulled it out of the oven, and one thing I forgot to mention before I put it in the oven is that when I do stick it back in the oven, after I do the batter, I don't cover it anymore. So because the cake has to obviously bake. But the cake was in there for 30 minutes exactly, and I've already poked a hole in it, and as you can see, it's coming out clear. So that means that the cake is done, and so is the flan, because the flan was done prior to that. So now what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna let it cool down for a bit, because we can't flip it until it cools. If we try and flip it before that, it's gonna break on you. This is where I'm gonna put it. Normally, it's pretty much gonna be, you cover it over, you flip it over, and we're good. And I'll show you the final product once this has cooled. Okay? Thank you. Hi guys, welcome back. So it finally cooled down and we're getting ready to flip it. I have my assistant here who's gonna help me flip it. She wants to do the honors. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to her. So we're just gonna put the plate, we're gonna hold it, and then we're gonna turn it over and see our final product.
How did it come out?
Okay, hold on.
Okay, there. It's so pretty.
And here you are, guys. This is our final product. It's the Chocoflan. As you can see, the cake is in perfect shape and it's not gonna be all gooey. And then we have the perfect flan on top. And you have the caramelized color. Here we go. So I hope you guys like this recipe. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll come back soon with more. Thank you.